So there's a lot of pockets of weakness nowadays. And we try to fill those pockets with lies. I did it for many years. So I'm out here in Colorado for a conference. I go to the gym and this trainer calls me over to talk to this group of people he's training. He says, hey man, what are you doing out here? So I tell him. He says, what kind of workouts are you doing? I said, well, one workout I'm doing is I'm climbing up this mountain, 3,000 feet, 3 miles. Because I do that every day. So the next day I'm out looking for him. Didn't see him. A couple days later, looking for him. Didn't see him. So here I am on the mountain again, climbing it. And there's a gondola that takes you up, takes you down. I'm going up it. I see a gondola. I'm about 5 minutes from the top. I look up at the gondola. I see him, face pressed up against the window, looking at me. Our eyes meet. It's called a look. When you take a motherfucker's soul, don't talk about it. Be about it. Practice what you preach. Stay hard.
You have to challenge yourself to discipline your mind, to just focus on what are the most important things that you need to do right now in the midst of it. Number one, to fortify yourself mentally and emotionally, to develop a level of mental resilience, because there's so many unexpected things every day.
You have to have the truth to have a starting point. If I'm lying to you about who I am, or I'm lying to you about whatever, there's no starting point. There's a false reality. Right. You have to create the real reality. So that's what I call my accountability mirror in my book. That's the real reality. Where the f am I gonna start from? So for me, I was lying to this, lying about that. So I had no starting point. Once you come face to face with who you are, you have a starting point. All right, I'm not real smart. I have no courage. I have no self-esteem. I have no nothing. Nothing. That's my starting point. Now we can move from there. But if I tell myself I'm strong, I have courage, I'm smart, and all these are lies, you continuously push that starting point backwards. So that starting point is the truth.
Change does not come easy. Now, this is going to be tough to hear because it is antithetical to what you are used to hearing. You're used to hearing spin around 3 times and God's going to break it. 5 ways to have a great marriage and 3 ways to start your life over, and eat this and you'll drop 100 pounds, and take this pill and you'll be back able to get into the dress you wore to the prom. But the truth of the matter is, a day of not eating at Wendy's doesn't constitute a diet, and you're not going to be transformed easily or quickly.
A person's strengths are often their biggest weaknesses. And so that also means that their weaknesses can be their strengths. I am weak, but I don't accept that. I don't accept that I am what I am and that is what I'm doomed to be. I'm always fighting, I'm struggling, and I'm scrapping. But I'm kicking and clawing at those weaknesses to change them, to stop them. Some days I win, some days I don't. But each and every day I get back up and I move forward with my fist clenched toward the struggle. And I fight with everything I've got to overcome those weaknesses and those shortfalls and those flaws, as I strive to be just a little bit better today than I was yesterday.
What's funny about failure is we're afraid to fail a lot of times because we're afraid to get those people telling us that we're not good. And 99.9% of those people who are in your ear after you fail haven't even tried what you're attempting to do. That's first off, but they have a voice. So that voice needs to be, we're done. You don't need to talk to me anymore. Like when I failed the pull-up record, I was going for 4,020 pull-ups. And I failed it twice before I finally got it the 3rd time. I had so many people telling me, you can't do it. And I was like, how many pull-ups have you done in your life? So that's the first thing. Look at who's talking to you negatively first. And failure is the only way to grow. The only way to grow for me. Everything I've ever succeeded in, 3 hell weeks. You know, everything, Ranger School, everything I've ever failed, I failed miserably so many times. But what you do with that failure is you go back, you learn from it. And not just learn from it, I call it the live autopsy. Where you get all this stuff, you get a scratch piece of paper and you start writing down, don't even acknowledge the fact that you failed. You're looking at it almost like the daggone light bulb. Like, okay, this went wrong, that went wrong, that went wrong. And then you go back into it. All failure is a tool for success.
You've got to be knocked down and then be willing to continue. You're going to be laughed at. You're going to be ridiculed. You're going to face self-doubt. You're going to be exhausted at times. You're going to face all sorts of challenges if you want to get to your Mount Everest. Everything that happens to you is for your growth. It's the times of suffering that make you great.
So no matter how great the setback, how severe the failure, you never give up.
You can't live your life being afraid to fail. All those failures made it a success in the day. Stay hard, stay in the fight.
When you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person that walked into it. That's what the storm is all about. When you can't control what's happening to you, control how you respond to it. That's where your power is.
If you can teach people to stand up in the face of the things they're afraid of, they get stronger. And you don't know what the upper limits to that are, because you might ask yourself, like, if for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, what would you be like? Well, you know, there are remarkable people who come into the world from time to time, and there are people who do find out over decades-long periods what they could be like if they were who they were, if they spoke their being forward. And they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and we don't know the limits to that. We do not know the limits to that.
When change is involved, somehow we get into this thing where we're kind of waiting for somebody else to do it. We're waiting on someone else to arrive. I mean, we've got to stop that. We got to stop waiting for someone to change before you change. You got to stop waiting for somebody to help you change it.
And so if your life isn't everything it could be, you could ask yourself, well, what would happen if you just stopped wasting the opportunities that are in front of you? You'd be who knows how much more efficient, 10 times more efficient, 20 times more efficient. You have no idea how efficient people get. Well, and if we all got our act together collectively and stopped making things worse, because that's another thing people do all the time, if people stopped really trying just to make things worse, we have no idea how much better they would get just because of that.
I want you to get some determination. I want you to put your shoulders back. I want you to put your feet down. I want you to understand that you can't choose what happens to you in life, but you always get to choose how you respond to what happens to you in life. I'm telling you, life is 10% what happens. It's really 90% how you react. You need to predetermine now your reactions, because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Storms will come.
If you're struggling right now and you're having a hard time and you're pissed off and you're frustrated, know 2 things. 1, you're not alone. 2, this is necessary for you to get where you want to go. And if you quit, if you falter, if you stop, all of the pain will be for nothing. And you need to remember that.
When you're knocked down, you gotta be that motherfucker whoever knocks you down, they gotta be afraid it knocks you down. They'd be like, oh man, this ain't gonna end good. I made a mistake knocking this motherfucker down because he's gonna come back. He's gonna come back. That has to be the way you look at life. It's that mentality. It's that mentality of, if you knock me the down, you're gonna say to yourself, I shouldn't have done that to that motherfucker. That's the mentality that keeps you in the fight.